You're listening to Sorry for Asking.
Sorry for asking. I'm Cole Connor.
And I'm Adam Ramzi. This is where we talk shop, ask questions,
Tell stories and laugh some laughs about being creators.
as well as consumers of adult content we love watching too.
We certainly do. We also discuss the impact adult films have had on us
On our guests,
and on the LGBTQ community.
so strap on and strap in.
And here we go.
Hey.
Hello. Welcome back to Sorry for Asking. I'm Cole Connor.
And I'm Adam Ramzi. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 5. Hope your spring is springing. Yeah, episode
we're
5
already
of
at
season
5.
3. I know. My goodness.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we're loving season 3 so far. Before we get into it, how you doing, Cole?
I'm good. I got back on last Friday night from a trip to Park City for a content making, and I snowboarded for the first time in 3 years, which
Wow.
was great.
How'd it go?
Since post-COVID, post-surgeries, everything went well. It came back to me. I was a little nervous how it would feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was impressed with myself, and I even got to suck some dick on a gondola.
I saw that video. I was very impressed. Your dick sucking skills are still top notch.
Top notch,
Very
man.
good. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a very busy content week too, and I'm tired.
I'm
I don't
exhausted.
like doing the daily, but like I'm about to travel as well, and so I'm just trying to get a bunch of stuff done so that I could. It's going to be a vacation,
Yeah,
so I can edit.
I shot a 5-way last night.
Oh boy.
And I have a date tonight, so
Oh.
I guess I got to put out too. I want to put out.
Yeah.
He's a new person.
Okay, cool.
So
Exciting.
yeah.
Yeah. My night tonight is not as sexy. I am going to film a scene, but right after that I'm playing Settlers of Catan because that's the big nerdy thing
What
I've been
is
up to lately.
Settlers of Catan?
It's a big nerdy game, like a board game
Like
situation.
Dungeons and Dragons?
It's like Dungeons and Dragons light.
Light.
You can get through a game in
Okay.
an hour. I'm so obsessed.
I've always
It's
wanted
so
to
much
try
fun.
Dungeons and Dragons, but then I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could do it. I have friends who've been trying to get me to do it for a long time. But anyway, episode 5, we are getting back into having guests, and I'm very excited about today's guests. I'm going to make a little introduction. Today we have a director who's worked with Titan Media. He's currently part owner of Trailer Trash Boys and works with Fetish Force and Say Uncle, and he's been in the industry for over 20 years. Please welcome Jasun Mark.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you? Hey. It is
So good to see you,
It is
Jason.
great to see you. I haven't actually seen you in person since
Last
I'm gonna say
Gavians, I think.
the Gavians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah,
Last
we all
year,
ran
yeah.
into it. Now Cole I have seen recently because I've directed you a couple times this year or
Right.
last year.
Yes.
Once
For which one? Yeah.
You were in a Fetish Force movie.
That
You-
was- yeah,
were you
that
just
was
in
the
one or
last-
were you in 2?
It's just one.
Just the one. Okay.
Yeah. And there was a
Yeah.
funny story with that.
Yeah, the misfire.
The misfire.
Oh, boy.
I was supposed to be the one getting DP'd.
Yeah.
So
I love stories that start
I
like
get
this.
there. First of all, I told Trenton, I'm like, I don't want to be in a room with another model. Like, I want my own space. He was like, you'll have your own room in a 2. But then when I get there, in a 2
Yes.
bedroom
Right.
Yeah.
thing,
Right.
with one of the scene partners.
So no real privacy.
And I was like, ugh. Okay. So, and he was like, oh, I had to fuck him to get him to leave me alone. So,
Okay, yeah, we literally wait. Is that why we had the misfire?
probably. And like, thanks Trenton for that.
Well,
Wait, what was the misfire?
so basically, someone had a little trouble rising to attention.
Was it not Cole?
It was not Cole.
Got it,
So
okay,
Cole is
gotcha.
supposed to be on the receiving end of the 2 men, and one of them was having a little trouble getting to full mast, so he wound up getting DP'd.
I guess
So
we should just
surprise!
say
And
it.
Cole
All they have to do
was
is-
pissed.
All they have to do is look
Oh.
at the scene. I think it would probably happen the way it should happen because they both were very large, and it would have been that would have been hard.
Okay.
But
I even remember telling you, like, these are not the beginner's models. These guys are.
I'm curious who they are, but maybe
well,
we
the
shouldn't name
scene's out.
drop.
The
Okay,
scene's
yeah,
out.
I'll
It's-
find it. I'll do my own research.
Yeah. Anyway, we had 2 big schlongosauruses, and I remember even looking at you and going, Are you sure you're going to be able? Are you sure you're going to?
I was gonna give it. I was gonna make it work.
Yeah,
Of course, you
would.
always do.
I always do, but
But I feel like I've heard a few Cole Connor stories that have started with, well, I was supposed to bottom, but then I ended up having a top.
Yeah.
Goddamn, and it's like a pissed off story, kind of.
I know, but I had a feeling that something was going to happen because the night before he said to me, he was like, I mentioned getting DP'd tomorrow, and he's like, oh, I thought I was getting DP'd tomorrow, and I was like, no.
Uh-oh.
I was like, I was talking with Jason about casting and everything, and like,
And you specifically asked me to get DP'd.
I know.
Yeah, you did.
Wow, and he came in and took that away from you?
just
Did he
slapped-
outwit you?
He slapped the dick right out of my hole.
You poor
It was
thing.
yeah.
Thoughts and
It's a good scene though.
prayers.
It was a good scene. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta look this up. I'm not very familiar with Fetish Force.
So
What is it
Fetish
like?
Force
Yeah.
is the sort of BDSM line that Falcon runs.
I see.
And so the only thing that I'm not able to do is fisting because they've actually got a separate fisting line that Devin Franco directs. So
What's
I can,
that called?
Fisting Central.
Inferno?
Fisting Central, I think, or Fisting Inferno.
Central.
I don't know. I edit those movies.
Okay.
Station.
I edit the movies, but I don't actually direct them. So mine can be a lot more kind of freeform. So like the last one that I did, I bought a violet wand and we like were sticking it up someone's ass and he was like licking it while he was rimming the other guy and there was like lightning shooting all over the place. And we were doing flogging and we were doing sounding and we were doing like the acupressure rollers. It was we get to have a whole lot of fun with Fetish Force. I can.
Are you into that kind of content?
Yeah.
Like in general?
Yeah.
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 Because, I've only worked with you for Titan, and Titan
Right.
I feel like was pretty straightforward.
Titan was a very straightforward
Yeah.
line. Absolutely. We did have a Titan rough that was the like the hardcore bondage fetish stuff.
Oh, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
I remember being in the house when we were filming those, but
Right.
I don't think I was ever really a
No,
part of
you
it.
were. Yeah, you were never in any of those. The guys that were in those movies were like hardcore fetish players.
I mean, I will say, like, I remember kind of listening to one of them. There was one performer in particular who I just felt like he was a good performer. He came off great on camera, but it just felt so fake. Like, and this is kind of an interesting thing is like, I think verbal is a very tricky thing to get right.
It absolutely is. Yes. Yeah.
And like, I have actually like jacked off to scenes with this performer where I've like hated myself for being into it. But I was into it. So it was just very like,
because
fuck
of what he-
yeah.
Oh,
I will tell you that, and it's something, and I'm sure I've said it to you guys too. Say whatever comes to mind, and if it's stupid, I'm going to edit it out.
Yes.
And because I'm sure both of you have said stupid shit,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just cut it out.
Oh, yeah.
Because like if it takes me out or it makes me cringe or everybody bursts out on set laughing, we're going to take that out of the movie. And there's some editors
That
that
is
just
hilarious.
leave the bad
Yes.
dialogue, and I'm like, no, that's literally your
Right.
job.
I've fumbled so many times,
Yeah.
like just like where I want to say this and this comes out of my
Yeah.
mouth, or like
Yep,
a
yep,
mix,
yep.
it's like gruel.
Gruel.
that's gruel.
Cole told me a rule that I haven't really employed yet, and I'm always very fascinated when I think about this. You told me once that like if you just describe what is
Describe what's
happening,
happening, yeah.
that is like effective verbal for on camera.
Sure.
Have you heard this before?
Oh, yeah.
Jason? Okay.
Yeah, and I've talked about that. I've also said you got to be careful not to just repeat things. So I used to edit for Gay Hoopla, and Gay Hoopla is one of those straight guys having gay sex sites, and it's run by two guys that, or was run. I don't think they're doing it anymore, but it was two guys that I met back in 2005. They were Fratmen. And they eventually started this studio, and they did fantastic with it, and good for them. But a lot of the guys were straight.
Okay.
And first, when a straight guy is having gay sex on camera, he doesn't really have any point of reference because he's never watched a Joe Gage movie. He's never watched, he's never seen an Adam Ramsey movie.
Right.
So all he has to go by is straight porn. So the straight guys will be just like, oh, Riley, oh, you're fucking me so hard with that big dick. Stretch me out. And I literally had to call the guy and go, okay, don't let them say that because it's like absurd. Like I'm sitting here laughing.
Is that
and
the straight guy saying
Yeah.
that? Oh, so you're saying a straight
he's
guy who
getting
bottoms.
Yeah, the straight guy bottoming will be channeling the female porn
Oh,
stars because he
God.
doesn't have a role model like Adam Ramsey
Right.
who knows what to say while he's getting plowed.
Yes.
Oh yeah, stuff my.
Give me that.
You know, there's an art to having a
Yeah.
you know a masculine reaction to
There absolutely
taking
is.
it up the butt.
You know, real men take it up the ass.
Jason.
There you go.
Well, before we get more into the work you've done over the years, which I've been a fan of and loved working with, I wanted to just get into the beginnings a little bit. Let's talk a little bit. First of all, where are you from? How did you grow up?
Okay, so
What turned you into the faggot you are today?
I have always wondered this. So I was, where I was born in Connecticut.
Okay.
My dad was American. My mother's Canadian. They met in Europe. They're classical musicians, and they were going to the Royal College, so that's where they met. And I was basically born while my dad was finishing up his doctorate, so we kind of moved around a lot until I was 11, and we moved to Canada, and they both taught at the same university in a university called Mount Allison. It's out on the east coast of Canada. So I grew up in this little oppressive, remote farming village, and you can just imagine Jason in a little farming village. I did not fit in at all, and I never even tried to. Like, it was just... that was just never going to work.
Well, knowing you,
Yeah.
I feel like this could go in two directions. Either you had to really hide yourself until you burst out into who you actually were, or you were the troublemaker I know you to be, and getting all these boys to suck your dick in the barn.
Oh,
or
it
some
was
shit.
yeah. Well, so actually, you know what? It was even worse than that. So I decided that I just hated all the people that I went to high school with. So I had, of course, been hanging around with university students for my whole life. So at 14, I joined the university musical club because you didn't have to be a student, right?
Really?
Yeah. And my dad was like directing the orchestra and the whole bit. So I was an actor and like a chorus member in this thing. But none of the kids knew. They were all university students. They didn't know that I wasn't a university student. And
wow.
I dressed like a university student, and I kind of acted like one because I'd been growing up around them all the time.
Right.
So I knew exactly how to relate to them. So they all thought that I was a music student or a fine art student or a whatever. So there were people who knew me for 4 or 5 years who thought that I was a university student, and the trouble that I got into, I was way too young to be doing a lot of the stuff that I was doing. One just funny side story is my sister's like 3 years older than me, and we went to the liquor store once, and she was 19, which is the drinking age there, and they carded her and they wouldn't sell it to her, and I just went, oh, I'll get it. And the cashier was like, oh, hi, Jason. She sells me the whole thing. We walk out. My sister looks at me. She's, how did you do that? I said, man, I've been coming here for 2 years. And she was
Wow.
just like, holy fuck. So
what was coming out like? Did you come out, or
mean,
did you have to wait till you left?
yeah, I kind of had to wait till I mean, obviously I was hooking up with guys, some in high school, some are university students, some are just adults in the town. But I know it's inappropriate, but whatever. It is.
At least it
memories.
wasn't goats.
I promise
Thank
you
goodness.
there were no farm animals were harmed in this. Anyway, so I moved away. I went to university in Toronto, and I came out then. And I met a guy. We moved in together. I was 19. It was way too fast, but I was smitten in the whole bit. And we wound up sort of accidentally on the float of one of the gay bars wearing these little loincloths, and I'd never even heard of Pride Day before. And suddenly I'm on the back of this float, dressed as a little Roman slave boy, being hauled up the street with thousands of people jumping up and down and cheering. It was the most euphorically happy I have ever been in my life. It was like, oh, I get it. So even though I had told some people I was gay up to that point, that's the moment that I kind of consider myself to be out. Right there.
Cool.
So that was
Must have been empowering.
It was very empowering. And of course, back then I was young and thin and cute and had abs and hair. And, I don't have any of that anymore. But
What was your first exposure to porn?
I mean,
Yeah, what did you watch? What did you like?
so I mean, the crazy thing is, like, I'm old enough that it was all print, right? Like, I mean, so
magazines.
it was all magazines. And I remember finding a copy of a gay porn magazine called In Touch, which is very different from the magazine called In Touch available now. And it was all about, gay culture, but there was a lot of naked dudes in it. And I remember just like going, wait, okay, I get it. So this is what I'm going to spend my life doing. And I kind of knew that I was going to get into gay porn by the age of about 17, 18.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
How did you know that?
I just knew, like, I wanted to make movies, and I knew that porn was going to be kind of where I was going to go. I think that I figured that I would be making narrative movies that just had a whole lot of sex, and so they would be like X-rated, but more kind of mainstream film. But eventually, I just settled with making good old-fashioned smut.
Yeah. Did you watch straight porn during that time, or gay porn?
Well, there wasn't anything to watch back then. I mean, you would have to, first of all, find it on VHS, which is not easy to do in a farming village in New Brunswick in the 80s. There was no internet. Like, we didn't have downloads or anything like that. So you'd actually have to find it. So I didn't even see, like, porn until I moved in with that first boyfriend that I told you about, and he had like 5 or 6 VHS tapes, and that was where I discovered Joe Gage. It was where I discovered Christian Bjorn. It was where I discovered Jeff Stryker movies, and the Jack Wrangler stuff. And I remember watching that, and that kind of like, this is what I want to do.
Really?
Yeah. And
really
it took me a long time to get there, because I decided I wanted to be a rock star for some reason, so I joined a pop band and had a sort of short, weird music career, and that was kind of fun. We got a couple songs on the radio. We got,
What were you called?
Plastic Palace People.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alliteration.
Oh, yeah.
What did you, so when you started working in porn first, were you a performer?
No. So what had happened was the band was over, and I was kind of looking for what I was going to do next. And I had been working at a record store as an import buyer, because, as you guys both know, I'm a huge vinyl collector. So I got this job where I got to buy records all day. I mean, it was fun. But the music industry, like the record retail, was disappearing. So I was trying to find something else. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And then I met a guy who lived in the same building as me, kind of randomly. And he said, I need somebody who can do HTML designing. And because of the pop band that I was in, I had designed our website. So I taught myself how to do HTML. So I just said to him, I can do HTML. And he said, it's a gay porn studio. And I'm like, even better. So I did like a 5-minute interview with him like a week later. And I walked out, and I'm just like, I am a pornographer. And I literally sang that to my friend who was waiting for me. And I started out as an HTML designer, like hand coding those little promotional sites and stuff. And then eventually I moved up to video editing.
Okay.
And
what company was this?
That was what was it called? Bedfellows, I think. Bedfellow. But it was we're talking about like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then I just decided that my husband and I decided that we didn't want to live in Toronto anymore. It was too cold. December hit, and I was going to have to take my motorcycle and put it in storage for another 5 months. And I'm just like, I'm not willing to do this. And he said, I keep getting offers from jobs in Los Angeles. Why don't you find a job in LA and we'll move down? And it was like a spur of the moment thing. And I just like, okay. And I called a couple of friends in LA, and I had a job within like 2 days.
A job in porn?
With Fratmen. I was working doing video editing and mastering DVDs and doing the DVD motion menus. That was actually a job at one point.
Yeah.
And scanning of all of the original chromes, and that was my kind of entry into that. And I was doing video editing, and then I wound up doing production assistance, and I did like all those Fratmen jack-off races. Remember the jack-off races? Yeah, because we had this live cam house called the Frat Pad, and I would just bring my camera and just shoot whatever like insanity was going on, because you've got all these 18-year-olds that are just 100% boner. And I would just shoot whatever happened. Yeah. And I talked them into this idea where 2 of the guys were going to jerk off, and the winner comes on the loser. And I shot this video of it, and it was super hot, and the whole thing was like about 6 minutes, and it was 2 guys jerking off while the other 5 stood around and cheered for them, right? And we posted it on XTube, and I just figured, okay, that'll get a little promotion for the site, and it's pretty funny. I still hear from people who say that changed everything for me, because
that sounds hot.
Yeah,
yeah,
it does sound. It still sounds hot.
One of the guys was like, I used to think that jerking off and like being gay was something that I should be ashamed of, and you showed this video of these guys where they were proudly doing it and getting cheered on for it.
Right.
Like they actually had friends who were cheering for them, and I knew I was going to be okay, because somewhere out in the world there's that. And funny aside, I will not name him, but I had a doctor once. It was my old doctor retired, and a new doctor, and then he kind of looks at me, and he looks down, and he looks up, and he looks down, and he looks up, and he goes, so your name actually is Jason. That's not a porn name. And I was just like, oh shit. And he said, those jack-off races got me through college, buddy. And I was just like, yeah.
Thanks, doctor.
Yeah. And then he stuck his finger up my ass. But you don't understand, it was, so that was that. And then Jake Cruz and I were always friends, and one day I called him up and I went, you know what? My career's not going anywhere. I want to be a director. I'm never going to be a director if I stay here at Fratmen. I want to direct. And he said, I need someone to run my affiliate program, so I'll make you a deal. And he said he was starting a new site that was going to be called Jake's Men, which is going to... Do you remember Jake Cruz?
I remember the name. I know he was a big director at the time, right? Late 90s,
he was
early 2000s?
Like early to mid 2000s.
Okay.
And even into like the early 2010s. He was like an older guy who was just like a total everyman, right? And he would shoot videos of himself servicing guys or massaging guys or sometimes just outright having sex with the guys. And he that was his fame thing, but he wanted to have a site that was essentially the same type of content but without him. And it was going to be called Jake's Men, and eventually it became Cocksure Men, and that was the site that he kind of gifted to me.
Wow.
And just went, here, you direct all of this stuff and you can learn how to direct and you can run the affiliate program. And I did that, and then I was with him for about 4 years. It was a blast.
Directing the whole time?
Directing and like running like all the affiliate stuff and a
Gotcha.
lot of admin things. I had so much fun doing that. That is where the famous jack off me getting caught video is that we can talk about if you
Yes,
want.
let's talk about it. Yes.
All right.
So yeah, Cole, when we were working together, I was just like, why aren't you in porn? Like he's handsome, he's sexy, he's I feel like I was like, give people what they want. And he's like, well, actually, there is one video.
There's one video.
And
Just one.
Yeah.
So I had this idea, and it was during a meeting, and I said, how about we do a video? We'll post it on my blog, because I had a pretty big blog at the time. And I said, why don't I catch you jerking off in your office? And he said, okay.
To Jake Cruz?
To Jake Cruz.
Okay.
Right. And he said, okay, that would actually be kind of funny. And then he said, but let's do one where then I catch you. And I was like, wait, what? And he said, yeah, you'll be jerking off. And I was like, I don't know. And he said, Jason, just do it. I get people asking to see this. And I'm just like, me? So we shot the video and we did the whole thing in one take. It was like 2 minutes long. And I watched it back and I went, my ass looks fat. Let's do it again. So we waited until that afternoon and we shot it a second time. And this time I did not show my ass. I just jerked off and came on my T-shirt.
I was actually
This
gonna.
must
I was
have been a long time ago, because now it's a good thing to have a fat ass.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. I was actually just about to say that one of the things I remember about that video was I feel like you kind of pioneered the whole like jacking off on a black T-shirt thing, because it like obviously it shows.
somebody told me that after they did that, they came up with the term shirt cocking.
Shirt cocking. I
Yeah.
still use that term.
And apparently, so I don't know if that was, but I'll take credit for it. I'll do it.
Is that why? Is that why you wore a black shirt today?
Yes, we're getting a show today, everybody. Are you ready?
Oh shit!
Check out the video
I guess
version
so.
of this if you.
I got kind of busy last night, so. But no, so yeah, so we shot it twice.
Yeah.
So there were two versions out there, but we only ever released the second one that I thought was hot. And again, we posted it on like XTube and the Pornhub and whatever was out there at the time, thinking people would just think it was funny.
Right.
Oh no, it got like 5 million views or something on XTube, and then another 10 million across all of the other things. People still ask me about that. That was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And people still ask me about it. And it turned into this massive thing. And then, so I actually, just recently, because I actually started my own OnlyFans where I was posting all the behind the scenes clips and things. Like, I think you're on there, and you're definitely on there. And I asked Jake, I was just like, hey, do you mind if I post this old jack off video? Because no, go ahead. And then I was looking through it and I found the first take.
Oh,
and
wow.
my ass actually doesn't look that fat. It actually,
Of course not.
It actually looks pretty choice. I will
Standards
say.
have changed.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. First of all, take all the naked pictures of yourself that you can, because in 10 years, you are going to look on yourself with kinder eyes and go,
Yep.
damn, I was hot.
Yep.
So yeah, 10 years ago, well, 15 years ago, I was definitely worth looking at back then.
I definitely see pictures from like from shoots
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 years ago, and I'm like, I felt disgusting on that day, and I look good in it. So I'm
Right.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I did camera on your first ever scene, the bathroom movie for Raging Stallion, right?
Oh, Scrum?
No. Oh no. Yes, Scrum. That's
Yeah.
right. You guys were all in the shower. Remember? And
Right.
except it wasn't
well,
actually.
that was like B-roll.
Oh my gosh! It was not a shower. It was freezing cold water being rained down on them with a garden hose while they were standing in a kiddie pool, and we like.
No, it was like, I mean, the set was built.
Oh, yeah, it looked amazing, but it wasn't a
and
real
it was
shower.
And it was warm water.
Oh, was it
but
warm water? Okay.
If you've ever been in the Raging Stallion warehouse where we shoot,
Yeah.
there's like the model room is upstairs.
Upstairs,
And there's a shower up there and everything. So they had a long hose.
That's right, they had the hose.
Joined a hose, like all the way down to where the
Wow.
filming is going on,
Mm-hmm.
and attached to like a shower head, like 2 shower
Jesus.
heads. And they had a fog machine to.
Oh yeah, it was a fog machine we
Production.
were using, and they were standing in a kiddie pool, so we couldn't shoot them on the floor. So it was so fun. But you were down on the floor, and I remember you.
Well,
it was your first day,
there were-
and you had a smile that was so big. The edges of your mouth met at the back of your head, dude. You
They
were
were-
so
yeah,
happy.
I had a great time on that
and
shoot.
hard as a rock too. I remember.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna do a scene with 2 of them. It was Killian Knox and Chad Hammer.
Yes.
But the B-roll included other guys from other scenes in the movie. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to play with them during the showers. Of
course you
I was
did.
like, I have them for the rest of the day. I'm like, I'm gonna focus on
Yeah.
these guys.
And I'm going to guess you got what you wanted.
Yeah. Well, there was one time Tony had to be like, okay, calm down. This isn't a scene in the. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like people would be pissed. It looked like it was going to be an
You
orgy
were,
scene.
you were
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
having your fun, but it's a fun thing. So we shot that during COVID,
Yeah.
right? And it was just after we got back,
It was
and
December 3rd, 2020.
yeah, all of those crazy regulations and like guidelines that we had to follow.
Yeah.
And and listen, we protected everyone. Nobody got sick.
Yeah.
Nobody got infected on set.
Right.
We would have to get tested twice, and then they would put us in those little 2-bedroom apartment places.
Yeah.
And we were not allowed out for like a full day. They were testing absolutely everybody. We weren't allowed to interact. They would leave food outside our door. It was crazy.
Wow.
On set, we were not allowed to remove our masks. And at the end of that shoot, I remember I was sitting way over in the corner of that Marriott where they put us up, and I'm eating my dinner that I got delivered or whatever. And Killian Knox, just after we finished that scene, kind of walks past me, and then he stops and he kind of walks up to me, and he's standing about 10 feet back, and he goes, "Are you Jason?" And I'm like, "Dude, we've shot like freaking 2 movies together." And I'm just, "Yeah." And he said, "I've never seen your face." And it was because I was wearing
Always
this-
wearing a
Yeah,
mask.
I was
I
always-
didn't see Tony
Gotcha,
DeMarco's
gotcha.
face
Really?
until I
Yeah.
had shot like over 5 scenes.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen mine either.
No.
So I think
And I couldn't see his on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy. We weren't, and then eventually we were starting to. We actually did rapid testing on set. Remember that? We were pricking people's fingers and
Yeah.
doing the
Crazy.
Yeah.
What a weird time. Well, let's go back in time
Oh,
a little
sorry.
bit. I wanted to talk about Titan.
Oh yeah,
Because when did you start doing that? I feel like Titan was a really big chunk and a big important part of your career.
that was my brass ring job. I was always that was the one that I always wanted.
Yeah.
That was my favorite studio. I had all of the DVD. I had this gigantic catalog. I thought they were amazing. I actually knew Keith Webb, who's one of the owners.
Yeah.
And, he was always saying, "I want to get you over here, but I don't know what, to do what." And I was leaving Jake Cruz because I wanted to become freelance and just work for a bunch of different studios. And I worked for Dirty Tony, and I worked for a few other things like that. And I was doing, do you remember Dominic Ford did the 3D porn?
Yeah.
No.
So he had this fake reality show called So You Think You Can Fuck?
Oh, yes,
And-
yes.
right.
yes.
So- and it wasn't exactly fake. I mean, like, you know, it
Dominic
was-
Ford, who does Just for Fans.
he does Just for Fans
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he flew me over to Key West. And so I was hanging out in Key West for about a week. We shot that. It was unbelievable schedule because we had like 16 scenes that we had to get shot in 4 days or something. Like it was
Wow.
just, so we had
Oh my
two.
God.
Yeah. And I mean, and that included also 16 of these like challenges. So we had 2 teams going at any given time.
Yeah.
And I'm directing a 3D movie, which is weird because I'm blind in one eye, but whatever. So, Anyway, so we're there, and my phone rings while we're on set, and it's Keith Webb. No, sorry, it's Brian Mills. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I take the call, and he said, hey, listen, do you want to come hang out with us next week? We're going to be shooting a movie in Palm Springs, and we'd like you to be there to just kind of shoot behind the scenes stuff and some of your blog content, and, you know, just hang out and see what's going on. And then Keith called me up immediately, and he went, okay, you're being tested. They need somebody. So...
For directing specifically, or
he didn't
something
say.
else?
He didn't say.
Okay.
But he just said, they need somebody. This is an audition. Just understand that. And I was just like, I know. So I got there, and the first thing that happened, I walked in, and it was Spencer Reed and Shay Michaels were there. And I had directed them for Cocksure Men 10
I like
times.
Shay Michaels.
Yeah.
Shay's sweet, and Spencer's sweet. And I walked, and then Francois Sagat is sitting there at the table, and I was like, oh, that's what's going on. Francois Sagat is coming back to porn. And I finished saying hi to the other guys, and then I looked at Francois, and I was just like, hey, listen, we met 5 years ago. You wouldn't remember. And he kind of looks at me with this deer in the headlights look and goes, I don't speak English. And I said, d'accord, tu peux parler français. Quand j'étais un jeune homme, j'habite juste à côté de Moncton, New Brunswick, in the Canada Atlantique. Which is, yeah, I'm so rusty. But at the time, I was kind of a little better at French than I was.
Okay.
And he just melted immediately and went, hey! So he and I became like best buddies.
Yeah.
And we were inseparable for that shoot, and we were just doing everything together. We were there shooting for like 5 days, grueling days.
Yeah.
Titan, you would the scenes would take 2 days to shoot, because you would do the fucking on day one and come, and then on day two we would do the B-roll and the oral and come. So you like every
It wasn't
scene.
always like that, though. was it?
No. By the time you made it there,
Yeah.
we had stopped doing that. But when I started there, it was 2 days, and then they would do like a full day of nothing but portraiture,
Yeah.
photography and stuff.
Now I feel like the studios just want to like pump as much out or like get as
Yeah.
much shots, so they're not going to take 2 days.
It's a lot different than it. Yeah, and I mean, again, you know, we would be shooting 3 half scenes per day, right? So it's not that different, but it was a different time because you didn't have to have a new scene every week, right? It was mostly for DVD, so they
Right.
would, you know, they would release one scene every other week or something. So
I want to talk about my experience with Titan, specifically because it was so different. Like, I started with Raging Stallion, and you remember the story, apparently, that Chris Ward, who was the head of Raging Stallion, he totally lied to Keith when Keith looked into booking me and said that I was exclusive for Raging Stallion when I wasn't.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because I remember talking to you at the Good Hotel in the parking lot,
Yes.
and asking if you wanted to work with Titan.
And I was like, yeah. And,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it was a long time ago, so you probably don't remember, but I think you kind of were like, we thought you were exclusive.
Yeah.
And I was
No,
like,
I do remember
I
that.
was like, I just like working with them a lot. I didn't want to be marketed as an exclusive at the time. Do you have a picture of my first Titan scene, Gustafer?
I don't remember which one it was. Which one was it?
It sure is.
Oh.
That's me. I was like, okay, this is my first time. You guys flew me in from San Francisco to work in LA. And I just
What was
loved
the movie. I don't.
I think it was called Rough Trade.
I have that harness.
Oh,
Yeah.
that won best fetish film.
Did it?
Yeah, at the Grabbies.
Amazing. I'm sure it was because of me.
Yes.
No, just kidding. But like the thing that I loved so much about working with Titan was it felt like such a communal experience. Like I didn't feel like I was, put away in a hotel until it was time for me to film. We were like well fed every day.
Oh, very well.
I loved, they had these houses, Cole, in Palm Springs that like we would all kind of sleep in different rooms, and then we would use different rooms for the shoot. It felt like a vacation every time.
Gay porn summer camp.
It was like gay porn summer camp.
Like
we
a
would.
content house.
It was almost like a content house,
And
but
those-
with super expensive equipment.
Those houses that Titan owned, they would sleep 25, 26 people, right?
Yeah.
Because they were sort of event houses, right?
Yeah.
So everybody would be there, and we'd wake up in the morning, and even the guys who weren't working that day, they'd just come to breakfast with us. And when I say come to breakfast, I mean like Keith would make this incredible breakfast buffet every morning, and there would be like a fresh pot of coffee.
Right.
He'd be up making everything, and then I'd start taking the stills at about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we'd have like a short lunch, and he'd have made something, and then we'd start shooting the scene, and then he'd be out there barbecuing ribs or making roast
I mean,
beef.
it was not a very bottom-friendly experience.
It was- no.
food-wise.
No,
There was
his
like rack
bottoms
of
do
lamb
it.
and mac and cheese and banana pudding and like
the banana pudding.
banana pudding was
banana pudding.
famous.
Liam Knox was talking about renting one of the Titan houses that still exists in Palm Springs.
Yeah, and the company still owns all those houses.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, there's there's also one Taxman Cometh.
Oh yeah.
That was I just like wanted to show like just this was kind of like the aesthetic of the DVD covers.
That one from that movie, there's a picture of you kissing Nick Prescott.
Can you pull up that photo actually?
Yeah, you kissing Nick Prescott, and he's
That
giving
one.
yes, and I post that on Twitter all
I know.
the
I kind of
time.
love it. Actually, that was very interesting
Yeah.
because he and I. There was actually another photo of the
Who's
two of us.
that?
He
Nick
went
Prescott.
by Nick Prescott. He only worked with Titan, and he and I had kind of like a little romance. Of
course
the other
you
photo not
did.
there. Oh, I mean that was so. This is kind of interesting, like because. I had some very interesting experiences on the Titan set because we spent so much time together.
Yeah.
And we would have these moments, and I had some really good experiences with these people, like Jason Vario, for example. There's a picture of the two of us as well. We like kind of fell in love that week, but it was very interesting to me because somebody told me that there were a couple comments on that video that said it looked like we had absolutely no chemistry at all. Which makes me wonder about
Which video
whether
was that? Which scene?
can you pull up the one of me and Jason, please, Gus? Not that one.
That's
the other one
that's
of me
from
and Nick.
Taxman
That's
Cometh.
from Taxman Cometh. This
that one.
one, I think it was called Sling.
Okay, so that scene, as I recall,
Look at my
that was
schlubby ass outfit.
Wasn't that when
Jeez.
I had the flu?
Yes.
Yes, and it was Jesse Jackman. Love him to death,
Yeah.
but he was sick. He didn't know. He showed up to the set.
Made everyone else sick.
And
Made you
like
sick.
at the end of the first night, he's like, I'm not really feeling that good.
Yeah.
And the next morning he woke up and he's like, guys, I'm really sick.
Yeah.
And he was just, so we had to pull him. And halfway through the day, Keith started going, I don't feel very good.
Yeah.
And that night, I remember I woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, Keith pounding on my door going, I need to go to the hospital now.
Fuck.
So he hopped in the car. I was wearing like flip-flops, shorts, and a sweatshirt or something, and we zipped him down there, and they looked after him. And about halfway through, I was like, oh God, I feel sick.
Yeah.
And Keith and I
What the
were...
fuck was it?
It was like a flu,
It was a
right?
flu,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And the two of us were just like so sick. And I remember my team, which would have been Darius Union and Don Simmer, they shot the whole scene. They kind of asked me, how do you want this to look? How do you want the whole bit? So they shot the scene, and then I came down, did the still pictures, and you remember I kept like running to the bathroom
Yes.
to barf.
Yeah.
And
maybe
then came
that's why
back.
it seemed like we didn't have
I
chemistry.
think maybe
It was
that's
kind of a
possible
stressful
because it was
day.
not a pleasant day. So yeah.
Wow.
Well, I wanted to also bring this up about Titan as well. We're running out of time, so
I'm
we
sorry.
gotta move through this. The thing that I found very interesting, especially looking back on Titan, I was there with you guys for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And part of why I was able to work with you guys was one thing, I'm HIV negative, and the other, I had never done condomless porn.
Yeah.
Did you, obviously different era, different time, did you guys come under fire at all for having these kind of guidelines and
Oh,
policies?
totally. Yeah.
You did.
Oh, and I still have people coming after me. First of all, it wasn't just so we can explain to the listeners.
Sure, please.
At the sort of height of the sort of condom debate, right? And then there were all of the studios that were doing all of the like cum dump movies and the Biggest Bottom and the 50
Yeah.
load weekends and all of that sort of thing. And Titan basically said, we don't want to work with any of the guys that are doing these because it's gross, it's tacky, it's tasteless. We don't want to.
Would you say that the bulk of the bareback movies, quote unquote, were those kinds of films?
At the time,
I think
yes.
you're right.
At the time, bareback was. It was
Like
shocking.
fetish. It was like kink.
It was kink. It
Give
was,
them an
it was
inch,
shocking.
They take a mile.
Yeah.
They're like, you can't just have condomless sex. You have to do
it
a
has
cum
to be
dump.
with 20 dicks.
Yeah, bareback was like shocking
Yeah.
and level pushing and
Yeah.
just it was the fetish itself.
Yeah.
And to the point that the first time that I saw a bareback movie with Eddie C.T. and Alex Meekum, who I directed many times together with condoms,
Right.
and I saw them doing it bareback,
Yeah.
and it was like the first time I saw Kiss without makeup.
It's
Like
hotter.
I was shocking to
Yes,
me. I was
right.
like, what?
Totally.
But anyway, so Titan had this policy that they would not work with people who had done these movies.
Yeah.
And I think by the time you got there, they had relaxed that. Right? Because we
don't
were
know.
starting to work with guys who did do the condom stuff.
Really?
Or sorry, did do the condom free stuff.
Yeah.
Because by that point, PrEP was a thing.
Yeah.
We understood the concept of undetectable, is untransmittable, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they relaxed their stance on it and
Right.
and started working with guys who had done that. They still didn't want to work with the guys that were doing the kind of extreme cum dump movies, but they were fine if there were guys who had done a bareback scene here or there.
Yeah.
So it definitely their position on that changed. And of course, I remember joking sort of towards the end of Titan that bareback is now so wholesome that fucking Sean Cody does it.
Yeah,
You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, Sean Cody was the most Leave It to Beaver, Mom and Apple Pie gay porn site you've ever seen. Like, every one of those guys looks like they could have been on Leave It to Beaver.
Totally.
Right? And
That's
they're
hilarious.
barebacking. So it's no longer shocking. It's
Right.
no longer a fetish. You
Well,
know,
as we wrap
condoms are the fetish now.
Right. That's totally true.
Yeah.
And I barely see them. And I get made, at the Eagle, they still play all those DVDs.
Yeah.
And people like will see me
Listen,
up there and be like, condom.
People still
And they still give out free condoms in
I know.
places.
I know. People still come for me and they were just like, you ban people from your set. And I'm like, okay, so first of all, that wasn't my policy.
Yeah.
I was literally an employee.
Right, right.
Nobody was banned from our set. They
Yeah.
were just not cast in scenes. And then eventually they were.
Yeah.
So,
Can you pull up Gus the Dick Danger? Because I want to say, I feel like if I'm not mistaken, first of all, look
Yeah.
at this funny ass poster.
gosh.
This was back in the time when I would always try these different hairstyles and
Yeah.
facial hairstyles. Sorry about that, by the way. Was Dick Danger 2 the last Titan movie?
no, it was the second last. But so, hang on. It was the last we ever shot.
Oh,
That scene. It was the scene with Liam and I can't
Micah
remember.
Martinez or someone like that.
Yeah, so
I feel like there were a lot of problems on this set.
There were
Was
a lot of
not?
problems. So basically, both scenes wound up not getting finished for individual reasons.
Yeah.
So you had a scene partner who was
Yes.
unable to do
Correct.
anything.
Yeah.
And we shot a little bit with you guys oral or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I
Just did
handed
a
him
solo.
I handed him $50 and said, "There's your cancel fee. I'm sorry, but
So
you can't."
people didn't get paid their rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Can't get hard. I mean,
well,
hello?
he also should. I don't know.
He also didn't like look great. He didn't.
No, he
the-
looked
it
like he
didn't-
hadn't slept in a week.
Yeah,
and the whole bit. I shouldn't be
kinda.
saying this. This is really bad.
I
don't remember
know.
what
I
the
know.
guy's name was,
It's
but
just the thing is, yeah, like I get it.
no, if you're going to show up for a Titan Men movie, you should show up in shape. You should show up ready for it.
Yeah.
So you did a jerk off with you, and then the other scene with Micah. I can't remember. There was some reason that we wound up not being able to finish that for the same reason. So we wound up editing the two scenes together of you and Liam texting each other jerking off. Remember that?
yes.
That was my solution to that. And people were like, "That was genius. Why did you think of that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that was a pulling out of my ass at the last minute." But that was the last movie that we ever shot. But the last one released was called New Rules.
Oh.
And the final scene was Dakota Rivers and Dirk Kaber.
So why did Titan come to a close?
So first of all, Titan is still going. Right?
Yeah, the website is still
The
up. and
website is still
offering
up. The
scenes,
company's
yeah.
still going. I'm still on the payroll.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Residuals.
So I actually
They're just not making.
they
not
just
making
haven't
new
made
stuff,
any. They
yeah.
haven't made a new movie in 7 years. But I'm still on the payroll. I still get my monthly check and stuff. I still help with their affiliate program. What happened was that the two guys left who owned it were just ready to move on, and it kind of had come to the point where everybody was going bareback. They didn't want to go bareback.
Gotcha.
They had 25 years of condom scenes, and they just kind of went, you know what? We've made our millions. They own all of those like stunning palatial mansions in Palm Springs.
Yes.
And they just basically stopped making porn and started becoming a rental, like a vacation rental company.
Yeah, right.
So they're doing that. But
That's so cool.
The movies are still available. You can still buy them on DVD. You can still download them. You can still join the website. So it's still a cash cow for them. The fact that they're still paying me, so they just were kind of ready. They didn't want to go bareback, and the pressure had started, and they just kind of went, okay, you know what? Let's just leave it here now. And that was that was why we did those last couple of movies of let's just have our fun, and that's the end of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, and then you took a hiatus from making porn, right?
I did. I somehow convinced myself that nobody in the industry wanted to work with me. I don't know why I convinced myself that everybody hated me, but I thought everybody hated me.
Because of your loud mouth.
Something like that. And, you know, and so I disappeared. I became an HIV health educator.
Yeah.
And I worked for about 7 months for a nonprofit, which was the most horrible, toxic place I have ever worked. And it's funny because I've talked about toxic workplaces, and they're like, people say to me, oh, well, you work in porn. I'm like, oh, no. Porn is wonderful. It's a brotherhood. No, the worst job that I ever had was this HIV nonprofit run by a bunch of sociopaths. And it was like, it was so horrible that every day going into work, I would burst into tears crying because I was having to go to this awful place where everybody was just awful to each other.
Wow.
And I finally went, you know what? I'm out of here. And I just kind of took my shit and left one day. And I took a job as a cashier. Sorry, my throat's drying out. I took a job as a cashier at Amoeba Music, and I turned 50 working a minimum wage part-time job, and I was happy as a pig rolling around in his own filth because I was among my people again. And I figured, you know what, I'm just going to work at this company, and I'm doing my porn editing on the side, and this will be a good way for me to, you know, do. And then Trenton called me up one day and went, I need you.
Wow.
Right. He said, I need help directing the Hot House movies, and Falcon asked me to call you and bring you onto the team. Do you want to come back to porn? And
amazing.
Yeah.
And now here you are.
And now here I am.
Back at it.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you happy?
Happier than I've ever been, honestly.
Amazing.
And I never thought I would be happy. After Titan Men closed down, I was in a horrifying depression for like 4 months. Those guys were my family, right? Like, I mean, you knew me, Don, and Darius. We were like, you would see us at the end of shoots, and we'd all be sitting over in the corner drinking our martinis together.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun.
And it was they were my brothers, and you know, we worked together all the time, and it was awful when that came to an end. Not just because I loved the job, but because I loved the people, and I never thought I'd find a situation like that again, and I haven't. But the kind of work that I'm doing now is about the same level of fun, and I'm able to work for a bunch of different studios, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I can say yes and no to different gigs. Like, I'm getting offered jobs now, and I'm like, no, I don't have time for you. I don't have that in my schedule. Or in some cases, no, I don't want to work for you.
Right.
You know,
and the work still excites you.
It really does. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I've had a great career, and
that's great.
I got to do this for 10 more years, and then I can retire.
10 more years.
10 more years.
Deal.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Cole, do you have any more questions, or do you want to?
That answered a lot for me.
I mean, it sure did. Yeah. What is?
We talked really fast.
Yeah, we did. When we got through a lot. I mean, I knew that having Jason on an episode was going to be move quickly.
Well, I do kind of talk a bit. I don't know if you've noticed that.
What? No. Where can people find you? We have your Twitter, your X listed up there.
Yeah,
at Jasun Mark with a U.
Yes.
And Jason XXX.
I actually did a TikTok video today about why my name is spelled like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I got to be more active on TikTok.
Okay, so
I've been terrible
just very
at it.
quickly, I'm named after Barbara Streisand's son, Jason Gould.
Oh, okay.
And I always hated the name Jason. And when I worked at a record store in the late 90s, I worked in the metal department because I am a metalhead. And the metal buyer, he and I were buddies. And Metallica did this reissue called Garage Days. And Jason Newsted spelled his name with a U. And I was like, oh, that looks cool. And so my cohort there just started spelling my name like that, and would write it on notes and so everybody just assumed that that's how it was actually spelled.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I'm like, suddenly I like my name again.
Right.
So
plus Jason Newsted was hot.
Totally. Oh, the things I would let him do stuff I don't even let my husband do. So yeah.
Yeah.
There you
go. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
this
you
has been
for
amazing.
having me.
It's so
Thank
nice
you.
to hear what you're up to, and
it's so
reminisce on
wonderful
old
to
times.
connect with you again, because I haven't seen you for so long.
Yeah.
And I miss working with you, and I hope that we can do it again. And Cole, you and I have worked together a couple times recently, and
I've got to research your scenes together.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. Cole was telling a story once about how he was in a trailer trash scene, trailer trash boys.
I've done
And, like,
3, I think. 3 or 4.
Wasn't there a
3 or
comment?
4.
Wasn't there a comment that was?
Oh
like,
yeah, someone said I posted something, and someone was like, anybody else think Cole Connor has never been in a trailer park?
I know.
You actually
You're like,
did really well with the scene where remember the door we couldn't get open, and so
Yeah.
we actually made it part of the scene is that you couldn't get this sliding door open. It was
Amazing.
Trailer Trash Boys is a trip for sure.
cool.
I like it. It's an easy shoot.
Yeah.
My turn. I'm coming back to you,
I
Jason.
would love to work with you again, Adam. And
I have a little more melanin
I was-
than a trailer park boy. But
again, really quickly because I know
Yeah.
we're out of time.
Yeah.
I heard from Hunter Marks last night.
okay.
And Hunter Marks, he's got his partner. He lives down in another hemisphere. I don't know how much info I'm allowed to give out about
Okay.
his real life. He said I would like to come back and work once or twice. And I said, of all of the guys that I worked with, I've got like my top ones. And I said, if I named 3, it would be Hunter, Adam, and Dirk.
Oh my god.
And I can even show you the text. And that was when I saw Adam Ramzi. I'm like, oh fuck, I got that show tomorrow. So yeah. But
Awesome.
yeah,
Thank
no,
you,
you were one of my
Jason.
favorite guys
Thank
to
you.
work with. And Cole, I love working with you too. But we've only done 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean,
we
I
did
don't-
like
I don't
done like-
have
plenty.
yeah,
I
we
don't
did a
have the
lot.
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
We did a lot.
We did
but
a
It's
lot.
been a while. Thank you for saying
Thank you
that, and
so
thank you
much,
so
man.
much for joining us.
Absolutely. I will come back anytime you want. I just love, but we should all just like hang out too.
Let's
Totally.
have some martinis.
Yeah, we're gonna come bother you in Palm Springs.
I'm famous for the martinis. I have a cocktail bar in my house.
of course you do.
So, of course.
I
do.
have. I'm doing a comedy show in Palm Springs on March 28th.
Oh,
Right before White Party?
That is the day after my Say Uncle shoot. So yeah, let's get together.
Yeah.
Maybe we can even shoot video of it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
know, we-
well,
good
Drew
idea.
Valentino.
I know,
Is gonna
I-
be on too.
I edited that his concert
Okay.
show.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap up.
All right, we're done.
Thank you guys
I'm
all
sorry.
so much for
Shut up,
listening
Jason.
and for watching. This has been Shut Up, Jason. No, just kidding. Thank you, Jason Mark,
Shut
for
Up, Jason
joining
is
us.
what my
Thank
TikTok's
you,
called.
Gus. Thank you, UBNGO. And thank you, Cole Connor. I'm Adam Ramsey.
I'm Cole Connor.
Sorry.
Thank you,
And
Adam
this has
Ramsey.
been Sorry for Asking.
This has been Sorry for Asking. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, stay sexy.